We broadcast the news conferences, we talk about it, we even have promos, wear the mask, and we still get pushback on social media and on emails. Let me just read some of these and get your reaction. From Crystal, they're claiming the spread is from church services. This is an attack on your rights. Don't fall for the fake news. From Clark, question, Biden wants a mask mandate for every state. Why? We've had a mask mandate here since, what, May? And look how well it's working. Sound familiar?
Oh, yeah.
Robert, masks do not work. It's about control. This one's from Gail. Masks don't work. Oh my God, if they did, this crap would be gone by now. From Andy, stop this crap, which, by the way, is a recurring word in a lot of these. The numbers are false. You're only keeping the fear-mongering going. Masks don't work. And finally, from Tiffany, Bo, and Bo. Bo's responding to Tiffany. Tiffany says, no, I saw my grandma today in her home. How many 93-year-olds are alive in nursing homes today because of COVID? So, up. Bo says to Tiffany, forcing masks on our kids is dumb. If you want to wear a mask, that's fine. Personally, I'm not going to live in fear. But you have a good day. Your response to what you've just heard.
Well, it's very, I want to say it is ignoring all the science and information we've learned the last 8 months. The fact that, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, whether you're an epidemiologist or a pure medical scientist, they all say wearing a mask is one thing that can work, and actually the science has improved that now we know that wearing a mask not only protects others, but it protects yourself as well. And so this is fundamental to what we're trying to accomplish. Now, you just read a whole bunch of harsh letters of people wanting to ignore that. Sometimes they want to ignore it because they just don't believe it. They've bought into conspiracy theories. And others, just out of matter of principle, don't tell me what to do. And I understand the latter a little bit more, that there are issues of freedom. And whenever you have a government saying we ought to wear a mask, people naturally don't like that. But it is necessary during the terms of pandemic, and the same people that write you those letters want all of our businesses to stay open. And if you want your businesses to stay open, there's one simple thing you can do, and that is to follow the public health guidelines. And so I think there's a good balance there. I also get just as many harsh letters from people who are saying, why don't you do more to enforce the mask mandate? You're not doing enough. Why don't you use law enforcement? There's people that are not wearing it. Why aren't you doing more about it? And so, it's not a pleasant circumstance to be in, but there is a little bit of a balance here. Having a mask mandate, emphasizing the importance of responsibility, trying to keep our businesses open, our healthcare system from overloading, but at the same time, not being intrusive and heavy-handed from an law enforcement standpoint.
Charlotte Alter of Time magazine went on a tour of Trump rallies and made the point that now we have two Americas. It's not red and blue. It's two different sets of facts, two different versions of reality. Your reaction to that?
Well, I think there's some truth to that. And whether you're talking about what happened in the election, whether you're talking about what happens in the medical science and in coronavirus, yes, regretfully, you have an internet that is full of conspiracy theories that are full of misinformation, and it's really harder on the citizens to sort through all of that. But we have to come together on an agreed upon set of facts, and there's really not any dispute anymore that wearing a mask does make a difference. And sure, you can argue that we had a mask mandate, but our cases eventually have gone up as well. Those are hard to measure. We need more to wear a mask. You can also say that California had a lot of restrictions on businesses. Their cases have gone up. But you can also look at New York. Whenever they were overloading their healthcare system, they cracked down and their cases went down. And the same thing happened in New Orleans. We have to learn from each other. As I mentioned, just visited with some friends from Taiwan. It is a country of 23 million people. Do you know how many cases they have in Taiwan? 500. In Arkansas, we had 1,000 more cases in one day. And so, what is the difference there? I think it's an understanding of balancing freedom that we enjoy with appropriate health precautions that is really emphasized there. And so we're trying to achieve the right balance. Sometimes we get it right, sometimes we get it wrong, but when you see people die, people that you love and then you've got to do something, and wearing a mask is one simple thing you can do.
This is day 247 that COVID-19 has been a part of our lives. Have you seen the emails change at all in your office? The tone?
No. From day one, well, let me take it back. When we started, we were all fearful. We didn't know what was ahead for us. We were all wanting to take action, and there was a lot of pressure to stop school. There was a lot of pressure to shelter in place, which we didn't do. But the tone was everybody was in this together. And then over time, it became very divided. It was very sharp in its contrast. It's first, more government action versus less government action. It's not something you have to worry about to where we've got to do more and people are dying and scare tactics. And so it has changed after the first month or so, and it has been sobering though in the last month. In the last month, it has become more sober and real because our cases have gone from 800 a day to over 2,000 in some days. And our hospitals are packed, and now people are not able to get in for routine procedures that they need. One lady just texted me and said they had to go to Springfield, Missouri for a non-COVID related procedure that they had to go through. And so the realness of what is happening now is sobering to Arkansans.
Any thoughts, or do we have any plans? Are there triggers out there that would force more shutdowns with more stringent control over business, behavior? Anything in the works there that you have in your book? All right, if we hit 3,000 cases, we're going to go no bars. What?
No, there's not any trigger points that would happen. That's not something that anybody wants. That is something that is as much off the table as I can get it off the table in terms of consideration, because before, whenever we put restrictions on businesses, we had federal money that we could allocate out to give the unemployed extra compensation. We could give some relief to businesses. We don't have that anymore. And so now you would be the government saying, shut down your business, and we don't have any money to compensate you for it. People are unemployed, the food lines would increase, and there's really beginning a divide. You have people that can work remotely, and the people that can work remotely, they're fine to shut businesses down in many instances. But those that are in the service sector, that depend upon restaurants, they depend upon service for their living, they're the ones that are going to be hurt in the long term, because we don't have the money now to compensate them for that. And so shutting down businesses is the last thing that would be on my mind. We can get through this together as Arkansans if we really work through the holidays to make sure that we protect ourselves and others, we don't increase the cases, we don't overburden the hospitals.
Give me a story. I've just read negative ones. We've just recognized that for every 1 week you've got 30. But give me a story of someone who saw the light. You're bound to have one, where someone was so negative about wearing the mask and yet COVID hit the family. Do you have one of those that's top of mind that you can quote?
There's a number of public stories in that fashion that people had a family gathering. Many of them got COVID. They might lose a loved one. They didn't take the precautions, and now they're advocates for wearing a mask. So absolutely, and we hope to do some promotional materials, advertising to really emphasize that point from a health and a loved one standpoint. But let me back up a little bit on the positive messages I get. I have people that are just constantly contacting me saying, Governor, I know it's tough and we're praying for you. We're praying for you. And that makes a difference, just encourages me in realizing that we're really trying to pull together on this. You've got to put aside all the negativity that's out there and realize that Arkansans, by and large, have common sense, they understand what's ahead of them, and are trying to get through it and pull together. And so, you know, what I really enjoy are many of the students that write letters, and whenever they talked early on about the importance of going to school and the importance of sports even in their life, and then you see them able to complete a season and the joy that that brought to them and the difference it made that they would never be able to recover again. You know, those are things that actually makes a difference to me when I hear from those. I hear from teachers, and the teachers, you know, there's some that, and naturally and understandably, very, very worried about their own health, about their family's health. And I pray for them, I'm concerned about them, but I get letters from teachers say, thank you for having the classrooms open because our students will never make it without that. And the sacrifice they make for the students, but the teachers write and say, we're doing everything that we can and it's working, and they realize more and more how the digital learning environment for some just does not work. And they encourage me to hold strong in terms of the schools.
We hand you a ream of notes from the day's report on coronavirus. What's the first thing you look at? You open it up, what's the first thing you look at now?
Hospitalizations. I immediately go over to the hospitalization, see whether it's up or down and how much, because I know where we are in terms of our capacity and how tight that is. And then, of course, I look at the deaths because that means there's an Arkansan that have succumbed to COVID-19. And then I look at the cases because that tells you what it's going to be like a couple of weeks from now in terms of hospitalizations, and it tells me whether we're making progress or not. And then I skip down to look at how much testing that we're doing, because when you look at the number of cases, you always want to compare it to how robust our testing is. So that's sort of the process I go through every day.
Of course, your term ends in 2022. COVID will always now be a part of your governorship. What do you want the legacy to say? When they look back, when the kids in history classes in the year 2035 look back, what do you hope the textbook says?
That I handled it in a balanced way, and I work hard every day for the people of Arkansas. But balance is the key. I think it's served us well here in Arkansas, and I think it will continue to do so. It's not a balance that's easy to achieve, but I hope history looks at that and says he struck the right balance in terms of people and their lives versus taking the virus seriously and preventing even greater damage than it's done.